Hi, friends, and yeah, I just found this on the ship website. This is what I call surface warfare officer porn because nothing pumps my nads like getting a ship underway and doing underway replenishments or UNREPs, as we call them at sea. Amazing thing to do. And I served my first tour as a division officer on USS Bridge, AOE 10, and my wonderful Wendy wife at the same time was on the Sacramento AOE 1, so first of the entire class of ships. And you, there was no better experience going to sea in ships than to be doing combat logistics force stuff. And that's what I'm going to show here. And I'm going to talk a little bit through here because this video was made in the 1960s, and we did things quite a bit differently by the time I got in 2001, 2004 timeframe. So without further ado, let's watch. I mean, that is so sexy, so pornographic. It just makes you want to be a born again slow. Do it.
Sea power is a basic ingredient of national strength. And
Certainly
mobility is a basic ingredient of
our
sea power.
worlds.
Mobility means being able to go wherever needed on short notice. It also means being able to remain underway for extended periods without being dependent on fixed bases. All this is possible, of course, because the needed supplies can be delivered underway. Replenishment at sea gives the Navy
So that's what's
maximum
called a
flexibility.
Burton rig.
In
And we
this
weren't
film,
using that.
you will
By the
see
time I came
some of
in,
the
we
basic
were
elements of
standard
replenishment at sea,
standard
with
replenishment
emphasis on
alongside
details
method.
of importance to officers on both delivering and receiving ships. If there's one thing that alone could be called the key to successful replenishment, it is advanced planning. For the officer in tactical command and the underway replenishment group commander, planning for this operation was begun when the schedule was promulgated. This resulted in an op order for this replenishment.
Operational order.
Now, with the replenishment scheduled to begin tomorrow morning, the OTC originates a message directing the order in which ships will go alongside. He will also prescribe the replenishment formation and a tentative course and speed, taking into account any recommendations he may have from the...
So this is pretty lame. I never had a vice admiral on my ship, on any ship I was ever in. Even in the strike group, we had a rear admiral lower half. Typically, it was who was the boss and in charge of the entire strike group. So to see a vice admiral here and these drawings, I mean, they look like they're just constipated. I mean, did they not have Metamucil back in the day? Maybe not. I don't know. But both of these people could definitely use some Metamucil, or they could use some suppositories or something for their proctitis. Just saying.
The underway replenishment group commander. This is the most common formation. With replenishment.
Yeah, we didn't do it like that. On being on the supply ship, we were the high value unit, and so we would go on Romeo Corpin, whichever course that is, and all the stuff that they're about to say about, oh well, we had to think about winds and the winds and seas and directions and blah blah. it didn't really work that way for us. We were in the Persian Gulf. We just went on a Romeo carpet that we identified, and it wasn't even an op order. We did it as a op task, RAS, or op task replenishment at sea. So that was the message. We didn't call it an op order. Op order is a much larger thing that actually matters for, in the grand scheme of things of major fleet operations in a numbered fleet. So here in Florida, we have Fourth Fleet. Up in Norfolk, Virginia, we got Second Fleet. San Diego, we got Third Fleet, and Yokosuka, we got Seventh Fleet, and then we have Fifth Fleet, which is the Middle East, and Sixth Fleet, which is the Mediterranean, basically. So, any operational orders, those are actual overarching kinds of instructions, and it's certainly not intended to be micromanaging the conduct of underway replenishments at sea. For that, we're in my case, I was on my first deployment. We were in CTF 53, so Combat Logistics Force, and Fifth Fleet. So we had our own governing doctrines. Nothing was an op board when it came to that stuff, because the op board, like I said, controls a lot more than just mere maneuvering ships at sea. So I just wanted to throw that one right out there, because this maybe that's how they rolled in the 60s, but it certainly was never how we rolled the entire 20 plus years that I was on active duty. We never did it that way.
Ships in a line abreast, in one or more service lines.
This one or more service lines. This is all complete nonsense. Maybe they did that back when we had several thousand ships. We'd come right out of the war, but no, you have typically, and here's where my cursor is. You have the underway replenishment ship here, and then everybody else goes on station, but they're not in any kind of line abreast or any of that bullshit. They are, you're in positions. You're several hundred yards back on the port side or the starboard side, and you have all the small boys, the destroyers and such. And typically on an UNREP ship, we always had the carrier on the port side of us, because that's where their replenishment stations are. And then the small boys can come alongside, but where we would tend to hang out a lot longer with the carrier, and that's because aviation fuel. These ships are nuclear powered now, but you still got to send fuel over for the airplanes, and then you're running cargo back and forth, so mail, bombs, food, things like that. You're just moving all this stuff over, and you're also providing the fuel. And so all the small boys, as we call them, the frigates, the destroyers, and such, these little smaller ships, they get in line, and they come up on the starboard side of our ship, and and then we give them everything that they need, and they move, and then the next ship in line comes on, and the whole time we still got the aircraft carrier on the other side. So this representation is pretty much anathema to what we actually do. Again, maybe they did things a little bit differently back in the day, but this is not how we operate.
destroyers screen the formation while waiting their turns alongside. The guide is normally the ship in this station. A few hours from now, the OTC will announce the course to be used for the operation.
Yeah, that again, I never had a vice admiral on my ship. So this vice admiral looks like he definitely needs some Metamucil, or he needs to take some enemas or suppositories or something, because he's basically got a 4x4 jammed up there. He does not look like a guy I would want to serve with.
Weather permitting, the task group may maintain course toward the next replenishment rendezvous. More common is a course which puts the wind and sea about 10 degrees on the bow. If the wind and sea are not from the same direction and are moderate, the best course is into whichever one is dominant.
Yeah, like I said earlier, none of this crap about the wind or the current mattered. We were in the Persian Gulf, and we just went north or south, and that's basically how we rolled. We never talked about this stuff when we were generating our Optask RAS or any of that stuff. We had defined places where we went. So even when I was operating off the coast of San Diego in Third Fleet, Gasoline Alley, that was just east and west. That's it. No consideration for any of this garbage with wind or sea or directions or any of that. It's like in this film, they're trying too hard.
In any weather, and particularly in heavy weather, a downwind course may be used. Within a few...
as a mariner, you never want to go downwind. When people say that crap about fair winds and following seas, just go out there and try it. Try to have fair winds and following seas. Your ride is going to be sloppy, and your helmsman's going to have a hell of a time trying to keep that ship on course. We prefer Godspeed and open waters. I'd rather go into the sea and not with the sea, because again, you're just going to get a shitty ride. That's kind of how that works. But I've been wrong before, but I am a mariner by heart, and I think I know a thing or two about what I'm talking about. And I know that this 1960s video trying to give this kind of bad advice, you're just going to piss off people. Is what's going to happen.
Few hours, the replenishment group will be joining up with the task group. Meanwhile, the supply ships are hard at work. A single day's operation may involve handling close to 1,000 tons of stores. Here, too, advanced planning is crucial. The location on deck for each item must be specified in advance, so the cargo will be properly arranged on the basis of the order of ships alongside, stations to be used, and so forth. Rendezvous between the two groups of ships often takes place at night.
Yeah, we tend to do that during the day. I mean, we do it at night.
The crew of each supply ship
It's
has
not a whole lot of
already
fun.
put in hundreds of man-hours. This picture by itself explains why last-minute changes cannot be made easily. Prior to use, all gear and rigging must be thoroughly inspected. For safety, it is mandatory that every piece of gear which is frayed, cracked, or damaged be replaced before the operation begins.
That goes
Well
without
in
saying,
advance,
dude.
the delivering ships were notified as to the rig capabilities of the receiving ships and what stations would be manned. In comparison, the receiving ship has few preparations to make, but the steps here are no less important. If possible, the ship's officers should have held a planning conference with their counterparts from the supply ships before leaving port. To ensure that all hands are thoroughly familiar with their jobs, training should have been given at every opportunity. The routes for striking down supplies must be laid out in advance.
Now that's a gearing class
When breaking out the gear,
destroyer.
it's a good idea to check the Replenishment at Sea publication.
Might actually be the Orlick, the one I
It
volunteer
contains
on.
a checkoff list of all the equipment that should be on hand. Checking the sound-powered phones in advance does not take long, and it can save a good deal of aggravation later. As far in advance as possible, the supply ship should be notified of any special requirements, such as the number of movies to be exchanged or the need for personnel transfer. If scheduled to replenish at a later time, the supply officer of the receiving ship should complete and submit the requisitions for the next replenishment. Ordering this far ahead ensures that the replenishment force has the time they need to process or...
So that chop, the supply officer, they're on their left lapel, on the left collar, they wear the supply corps insignia, and it looks like a pork chop, so we call them chops. Looks like he needs to requisition some right-handed pens because, yeah, just I'm completely right-handed. I just make jokes about left-handed people. You just go and have fun with that. He needs a right-handed pen. He's probably writing backwards, probably writing in Arabic or something.
Order, schedule, and load for the next operation. Romeo at the dip on the delivering ship means she is steady on replenishment.
Yeah, so signal flags actually mean things, and so Romeo is this red flag with a yellow cross on it, and that signifies the letter R. And when you put Romeo at the dip, that means you're preparing to receive a ship alongside, and then when the supply ship closes up Romeo, so we hoist it up, close it up, then that means they're ready to receive you. And then the other ship has Romeo at the dip, and they that means that they're making the preparations. And when they're ready to come and they close up Romeo, then that means now they're going to ring up the appropriate engine orders and come alongside. So yeah, signal flags actually mean something. They're not just pretty to look at, they actually mean something.
Course and speed, and is making preparations to receive the customer ship alongside. The receiving ship may take standby station before starting the approach.
That's got to be a Thomason class.
Is 500 yards astern of the
LPD.
alongside position. For destroyers and smaller ships, the alongside distance should be from 60 to 100 feet.
Yeah, so we have tricks of the trade for that, and it depends on the way you do it. Depends on pretty much the command climate. I prefer personally the rule of 36. So if I'm 900 yards behind the ship, I should be seeing 4 degrees of lateral separation, and then you just start bringing it in that way. And ideally, you want to be about not the 60 to 100 feet business. No, you want to be about 140 feet to 180 feet, maybe. That's a lateral separation that you want to have. A guy named Johnny Walker completely fucked up my rig, and I was officer of the deck, and I was on the bridge wing, and we told him, come in closer, and he went, oh, I want to be like 200 feet around, 220 feet. He fucked up our rig because he was too far away. Then I met that guy when I was the XO on Constitution. I said, hey, Johnny Walker, I remember we were the CEO of the Guns and Hall, and I was on bridge. Oh, is that time I fucked up your rig? Yep, that is certainly what happened. Yes, sir. you don't do it. Just be close. Don't be too close. Be close enough though, because the supply ship will love you better if you actually conduct yourself as a professional mariner that you should be, and not being some kind of I'm afraid to get closer than I can spit or whatever. Yeah, don't do that. You will piss us off.
Greater distances are used for larger ships or for heavy weather.
No, that's not the case either. 140 to 180 feet is where you need to have it. That's a sweet spot, and that's on both sides of the supply ship. Don't come in too close, and certainly don't be too far, because you will mess up our gear, and we will be quite angry with you. And my captain on that case with the Gunston Hall issue, captain was going to send him a ball cap with his name on it, and he was so pissed off that he just sat in his chair and he grabbed a pocket knife and he just started undoing. He goes, "Hey," he looks at me, goes, "Hey, Coop, I just saved $15 here." And that guy is never that dude is never coming alongside us again, ever. And he to his credit, he did the right thing. He sent a blast P4 message, personal 4 message to the admirals, and said, "This guy will never come alongside me again. I'm going to be clear about that." And yeah, never came back alongside. That they were screwed up 6 ways to Sunday. They were not very professional mariners. I'm just going to say that.
Weather operations. The receiving ship flies Romeo at the dip, meaning I am ready to come alongside.
All right, I already
On the
talked
delivery
about
ship, Romeo close up.
Already talked about Romeo.
The High Line is the most common rig for transferring small loads.
So that's what's called a
It
Burton.
consists of
That's what's called a Burton rig. We don't use that anymore. We have the standard replenishment alongside method or stream. A lot easier, but these were more of a like a 1920s, 1930s. Chester Nimitz actually invented the whole method with the Burton rigs. So that's a throwback to that time. We don't use rigs like that. We have things that work a lot easier and a lot less moving parts and a lot less ways that things can fail. And even in the 60s, we had already been largely replacing Burton rigs with stream rigs. So there you go.
An outhaul to the receiving ship and control and load capability up to 3,500 pounds. Modifications of this basic rig.
Now that is beautiful picture here. This is what made me just absolutely delight in driving ships at sea, was doing this stuff. That's beautiful.
Can be used for transferring loads up to 6 tons. Some Service Force ships now are equipped to use the constant tension High Line method. Tension is maintained by a hydraulic ram or by a heavy counterweight housed inside a king post.
Mm-hmm. Stream.
Using this device, control of the High Line is less critical. The constant tension method is especially suitable for handling heavy or delicate loads under adverse weather conditions. Another method that also requires...
So that's actually my wife's ship. She was on the Sacramento, AOE 1. So I was on AOE 10. So that's my wife's ship. You might have shaved with her this morning if you are stuck in a situation where you need to maintain grooming standards and what have you. But, yep. The Golden Bear, USS Sacramento. That was my wife's ship.
Special equipment is the fast automatic shuttle transfer system. It is intended primarily for transferring missiles, but cargo loads can be handled as well. Pneumatic equipment aboard the ammunition ship controls movement of the trolley. Shock absorbers slow the trolley without jarring the sensitive missile. With FAST, a skilled crew can transfer missiles at the rate of 1 every 90 seconds. Regardless of the cargo transfer method used, the general procedures for the operation are the same. Whenever classified documents are to be transferred, the receiving ship is given word over the bridge-to-bridge circuit. The appropriate officer is then notified, so he will be standing by when the material arrives. Items such as narcotics...
That doesn't just happen. You are... When you do an underway replenishment evolution, it is all hands on deck. If you are not in a controlling station, your expectation is you are there to be, at the very least, a safety officer, or you're there to just watch the things and take inventory as cargo comes and goes. You kind of do that. It's none of this fantastical, oh, well, you need to be ready to go on station. No, you are on station. We don't screw with that.
And medicinal alcohol are handled the same way.
Now, I could take me some medicinal alcohol, but we'll talk about that later.
The necessary receipt must be signed and returned promptly. Empty nets and pallets are sent back about every 5th net load. 15 minutes before...
Yeah, sometimes the way that these training videos go, it's like you go, we know what we're doing. We're not waiting for some kind of profound epiphany of sorts. We know our job. We do our job. That's what we do. So accolades to the style of training video, but it's not. It really doesn't. I mean, the guy narrating, the people who produce this video, clearly don't know what they're doing. They don't have any experience with operations at sea, because we know what we're doing. So that's kind of my take on it. I still like watching these old-timey videos because it's pretty cool, and it brings back a lot of great memories. But the way they portray it is not actually how things work operationally. And that goes all the way back to the earlier thing that I was griping about this O-plan business. The O-plan is a numbered fleet instruction that pretty much, big picture, we're not necessarily using the O-plan to set up a rendezvous point or anything like that. I mean, it is a valid instruction and stuff, but we have actual messages that we write that are tailored to that. So the OPSTAT RAS request, or OPSTAT RAS rec, or OPTASK RAS, operational task order, replenishment at sea. We have actual messages that we generate and fly, and that's okay. Be here at this time. We're going to be on this course. We're going to be doing this. We're going to transfer X amount of things, and that's all in that actual message. That is not micromanaged via the OPTASK for the numbered fleet. It doesn't work that way. So that's all I got to say. Anyway, thanks for sharing a little bit of levity with me, and I'm proud of what I did as a surface warfare officer. Best damn job I ever had, and I could still talk to how things go, vice how they are portrayed in these silly training aids that we're looking at. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and bye now, and have a great day.